Proposition 32. Political contributions by payroll deduction. Contributions to candidates. Initiative statute. Plain language, make it illegal for unions, corporations, or government contractors to use members' dues for political purposes, or to donate directly to state political candidates or ballot measures. What does it do? You may be aware that union members often pay union dues out of each paycheck. Prop 32 makes it illegal for unions, public or private, or corporations or government contractors to use the dues they collect from members for political purposes. Or more simply, no money deducted from an employee's paycheck can be used for political purposes. However, Prop 32 does allow unions to set up special committees where union members can donate voluntarily to political causes if they wish to. It makes it illegal for unions, corporations, or government contractors to give money directly or indirectly to political candidates or any organizations they control. It keeps it legal for unions and corporations to spend money on politics in any other way than the prohibitions mentioned above. Also, Prop 32 makes it illegal for government contractors to give money to elected officials or any organizations they control. This is because it's a conflict of interest to have a contractor giving money to an official who has the power to award that same contractor new contracts. For clarification, organizations can still use members' dues to fund federal politics and for collective bargaining expenses. For example, a union could use money deducted from its members' paychecks to donate to Mitt Romney or Barack Obama's campaign, because those are federal campaigns, but not the councilman from Los Angeles, because that would be a state campaign. Moreover, money can still be spent on state or local politics as long as it is spent with an independent organization, like a super PAC, or some other organization not directly affiliated with a candidate or ballot measure. As long as the money isn't spent directly with a specific candidate or ballot measure, it's okay. It's got to be completely independent of the official campaign. Fiscal impact. It is estimated that Prop 32 will cost $1 million or more each year to implement and enforce it. Long story short, this bill would make it illegal for unions, corporations, and government contractors to use money they deduct from their members or employees' paychecks for state politics. And it would be illegal for these groups to donate directly to state candidates or ballot measures. The proponents of Proposition 32 say cut the ties between special interests and politicians. Politicians take tens of millions of dollars in campaign contributions from corporations and government unions and then vote the way they tell them. Politicians end up working for unions and corporations, not the voters. The result is massive budget deficits and abuses like lavish pensions and bad teachers we can't fire. Prop 32 ends this. No exemptions, no loopholes. They say today it's legal for the government to give contracts to political donors, shutting out small businesses in the process. This will end that. Prop 32 stops contractors from giving money to politicians who approve their contracts. Prop 32 makes political contributions voluntary and prohibits unions and corporations from forcing members to fund political causes they may not believe in by deducting money from their paychecks. Every dollar given to politics should be voluntary. People have the right to decide how to spend the money they earn and shouldn't be forced to contribute to politicians or causes they disagree with. They say politicians hold wine tastings, cigar smokers, and big-ticket lavish fundraisers at country clubs. Fat cat lobbyists attend these fundraisers and hand tens of millions of dollars in campaign contributions to politicians in exchange for multi-million-dollar tax loopholes for big developers, wealthy movie producers, and out-of-state corporations, being exempt from the state's environmental rules, sweetheart pension deals for government workers, and protecting funding for wasteful programs like the high-speed train to nowhere, even as they're cutting funding for schools and law enforcement while proposing higher taxes. And that, of course, is a shot at Propositions 30 and 38. And finally, they say Prop 32 goes as far as the Constitution allows to eliminate political unfairness. And the no on Prop 32. Before voting on Prop 32, answer two questions. Would billionaires pay to place this on the ballot unless they were getting exemptions? When's the last time a proposition backed by special interests in California didn't contain loopholes or exemptions? There's always a catch, and this is no different. Real estate developers, insurance companies, and billionaire venture capitalists are just three groups of major contributors that are exempt from the provisions of Prop 32. Business super PACs and independent expenditure committees are also exempt, while unions will no longer be able to contribute to candidates. In addition, huge corporate special interests can continue to spend unlimited money on politics, but aren't subject to the same contribution restrictions and transparency requirements as the campaigns themselves. If Prop 32 passes, these groups will flood our televisions with even more negative ads. The Proposition 32 crowd claims that workers are being forced to contribute to politics or causes they disagree with. They aren't. Current law protects workers from being forced to join a union or pay fees to unions for politics. They say the goal of the Prop 32 supporters is to help themselves and harm their opponents. Prop 32 is unbalanced and unfair. This measure prohibits unions from using payroll-deducted funds for political purposes and says it also applies to corporations, so it sounds fair. But 99% of California corporations don't use payroll deductions for political giving. They'll still be able to use their profits to influence elections. And that's just not fair, and it's not real finance reform. Real finance reform treats everyone equally with no special exemptions for anyone. Prop 32 was intentionally written to exempt big businesses who together spent more than $10 million in California elections since 2004. Just look at who's behind Prop 32. Former insurance company executives, Wall Street executives, developers, and big money donors to causes that benefit from Prop 32. The same big oil companies, insurance companies, bankers, hedge fund managers, developers, and super PACs that made this proposition have exempted themselves from its provisions. The Prop 32 people are just taking advantage of the fact that everyone's angry with partisan bickering and gridlock to pass a bad, self-serving bill. If you don't want special interests in control of air and water safety and consumer protections, vote no on Prop 32. So that one's not too complicated. I'm not a member of a union. Maybe you are. Prop 32 says it affects corporations and government contractors as well, but I kind of think that's just lip service. The opponents of Prop 32 were correct. This bill, in practice, will really have the greatest effect on unions because, as they mentioned, corporations donate money with profits, not member dues. Corporations don't really even collect member dues from employee paychecks. Unions are the ones really known for deducting dues from its members' checks and then using that money for political purposes. My honest opinion is that this is just an effort by anti-union groups to reduce the influence of unions in state politics. Nevertheless, I think I like this proposition. If I did work for a union, I think I would resent having the union taking money out of my check to support politicians or causes that I may personally despise. If members want to use their money to support politics, this law allows the unions to set up voluntary contribution funds, and I like that idea. If you want to support candidate X or Proposition Y, then you can volunteer that cash. If you don't want to support that candidate or proposition, you don't have some union taking your wages and working against your political views. Now, the opponents of Prop 32 are claiming that big oil companies and real estate developers and insurance companies and hedge fund managers and all the bad people that we hate are exempt. Unions suffer, but oil companies are exempt. How unfair. So I called the No on Prop 32 campaign for clarification and learned that this is yet another political argument. It goes like this. Prop 32 keeps it legal to support independent organizations like super PACs, and big companies sometimes donate to super PACs. So the No on Prop 32 people then say that Prop 32 exempts big oil companies because they donate to super PACs, when really anyone is allowed to support super PACs, even unions. Moreover, they try to make it sound like Prop 32 silences nurses, teachers, and firefighters, and they can't speak out anymore. Yes, they can, through the voluntary committee, privately, and any other way. Just because someone can't involuntarily deduct money from your check doesn't mean your voice is silenced. Finally, the gentleman from the No on Prop 32 campaign explained to me the fact about not being forced to be in a union, because I had always thought that industries forced workers to join the union. He said that if you don't want to be in the union, the California law allows you to leave the union, but still you have to pay some premium to the union that can't be used for politics. I don't really understand exactly how that works, but I guess they see that as your way out. If you don't want the union spending money on politics you don't like, then you should leave the union and then still donate to the non-political due fund. Whatever, it still seems to make more sense to me to opt into political causes than to have to opt out of the entire union altogether. The No people go on and on about how unfair it is that corporations donate thousands to whoever they want, but the point of the law is not to limit spending on politics. The point of the law is strictly to stop involuntary payroll deductions from being used for politics, stop organizations from giving directly to candidates and ballot measures, and to stop government contractors from essentially bribing politicians. Those are the issues. Not how much money someone spends, not where they spend it, not how much they spend compared to someone else. The bill is about preventing payroll-deducted funds from being spent on politics and direct political contributions. If the point of the law was to make sure all organizations had to spend equal amounts, then I would see their point. But when they try to make the argument about big oil and hedge fund managers, it's just a way to make the argument about a cause that this proposition isn't even addressing. This proposition is about the use of involuntarily deducted member dues and direct political contributions. If you vote yes on Prop 32, you are making it illegal for unions and corporations to use money they deduct from members' checks for state politics or to donate directly to state politics and ballot measures. And if you vote no, unions and corporations will continue to be able to use involuntary deductions for state politics and donate directly to candidates and ballot measures. Now, I personally wouldn't die on this hill, but I will be voting yes for freedom, yes for Prop 32.